When it is very, very dark, our eyes can play tricks on us, and then our imagination takes over. That jacket hanging on the door can become a person. Any object around your room takes on unusual shapes. In the morning, perspective is restored, and you chastise yourself for letting your imagination run away with you. But what if one night you see something shadowy that was not just your imagination? That shape that appears to look like a humanoid figure. There is a name for this type of phenomenon, and they're called shadow people. And for the people who have actually experienced them, found it extremely frightening. The following are two terrifying accounts of what people witnessed when they encountered shadow people. Number 2, Courtney. Courtney was only 11 when she wandered into an empty house. It was daytime and the building was well lit. She looked into a few rooms and saw nothing out of the ordinary until she turned into a hallway. Standing at the other end of the hall was a shadow person that appeared to be looking at her. Although it had no eyes, the feeling was undeniable. The shadow person and her watched each other for some time. She could not believe what she was seeing and didn't think it was real. And then it started walking towards her slowly. She turned and ran and quickly looked over her shoulder. Where it had travelled about 7 meters in a split second, she looked away. But when she had her eyes on it, it moved slowly. She got out of the house and looked back at it again, where it stopped at the door, almost like it was unable to leave the house. There have been people lucky enough to capture a shadow person in a photo. This photo was captured by a woman named Amber, who was taking a photo of her brother. They both claimed that they often sensed the dark energy in the room. Another photo captures 2 shadow people standing behind trees in a front yard, looking ominous. Another mysterious entity is the Hat Man. It is known to be a tall male entity wearing a wide-brimmed hat and has been witnessed by many. One famous sighting of the Hat Man was captured when 3 women had a photo taken. Standing behind the women is a strange-looking shadow figure with no discerning features except for a wide-brimmed hat. It is believed that 3 days after the photo was taken, the woman on the left suddenly passed away in a car crash. The women were adamant that no man was behind them. Could this Hat Man be a Grim Reaper foreseeing the tragic events about to take place? This photo also captures what seems to be a shadow person at Waverly Hills Sanitarium, lurking in the halls of the abandoned building. It is unknown who took the next photograph of a woman preparing something in the kitchen. Behind her is a bizarre shadow person. What do you think about this phenomenon? Is it all a hoax, or could these photos be evidence of something beyond our understanding? Number 1. Robert Pierpazzica. Robert bought a house in Kansas City, Texas. The house had a passageway between the garage and the rest of the house, and a kitchen with a door that led to the passageway. One afternoon when Robert was washing the dishes, staring at the window, he saw a shadow move from the back of the house. He thought it was one of his friends coming to visit. He turned to the door and saw the shadow enter the garage. He opened the door and followed. No one was there. A few days later, he was in his bedroom on the computer and saw a shadow walking from window to window. Again he thought a friend was coming to visit. This time there was a distinctive knock on the windows, and the shadow walked to the next window and around the house to another window in front of the house towards his front door. He then went to the front door and opened it, but there was nobody there. Each of these occurrences happened in the middle of the day, in full daylight. He has also seen a figure standing outside of his bedroom door, just standing there, watching him. This all happened a few weeks after he was awoken one night, unable to move and unable to breathe. He was paralysed for what seemed like an eternity, probably only 10 to 15 seconds. He was wide awake during this terrifying encounter and was completely conscious. He decided to write down all of these strange occurrences. He then discussed his experience with some of his friends who had spent the night, who told him of things that occurred to them during the time they stayed at his house. After listening to their stories, it appears that they all followed the same pattern. The shadows would walk around outside and tap on the windows, and they also reported the shadowy figure standing in the doorway. What would you do if you ever encountered such an entity? One day you may be reading or watching TV when suddenly, from your peripheral vision, you see a shadowy figure moving in the room. You quickly turn your head and it's gone, and you tell yourself that it must have been a car headlight. Or did you see an actual shadow person? Shadow people have fascinated the minds of paranormal enthusiasts everywhere. So, what are shadow people, and are they real? Heidi Hollis is a paranormal author who first coined the term shadow people and claims they've been around since the beginning of time and are a dark influence upon society. In her book titled The Secret War, she describes them as dark silhouettes with human shapes and profiles that flicker in and out of peripheral vision. Hollis said that these beings have in fact been around throughout history, as descriptions of shadowy human-like figures have appeared in folklore dating back to ancient times. The Quran calls them pitch-black sapient beings that aren't entirely spiritual or physical. Reports from people claiming to have seen these beings themselves come from all over the world. People who see them are often unable to describe in detail the features of these dark entities apart from their human-like form and the occasional reports of fiery red eyes. However, in more recent times, it appears that people have begun to see shadow people in more detail, maybe because the beings are, for whatever horrifying reasons, making themselves seen, where more and more people are beginning to see them straight on and for longer periods of time. So, where do they come from? Hollis, through her research and experience, believes that shadow people are extraterrestrial in origin and are in fact aliens. Author and paranormal expert Rosemary Ellen Geely agrees with an alien connection, where she discovered that many shadow people experiences are also ET experiences, especially abductees. Others believe that there may be ghosts or interdimensional beings. Natalie Acuna, a psychic medium, believes shadow people are conscious, intelligent, interdimensional beings that can shapeshift into various forms and figurations and move back and forth between dimensions. It appears that shadow people are overwhelmingly negative, and other times shadow people have physically attacked during an encounter similar to some sleep paralysis experiences. Shadow people are sometimes discovered by a person who wakes up to find them trying to choke or suffocate them, where encounters with shadow people tend to be accompanied by a feeling of dread. However, there are different types of shadow beings, and some of them are non-threatening.